Good morning. We're calling this meeting to order. This is Amador County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you. The board met in closed session. Items we met on were item 1A, general services, consideration of accepting a donation of property. Direction was given. Item 1B, this is county negotiators, it's a property, possibility of acquiring 27 acres known as Pioneer Park from the BLM. Direction on that was given. And conference of labor negotiators, there's nothing to report. Confidential minutes were approved, and I think Vice Chair, could you please report on item 3?
Item 3, update was given.
Okay, well, thank you. With that, we're going to move into public matters not on the agenda. Is there any members of the public that would like to address this board? And please note there's a 3-minute limit per person, and would you sign in and state your name for the record, please? And also, just for the record, Supervisor Forster is on a family vacation, so that's why he's not here today. Good morning, Lois. You might want to pull that down a little bit.
Yes, oh, sorry, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, New California is still working along, and we are really concerned about the children that are being taken and held and used for purposes. And it's a form of slavery to take these children. And there's hundreds of thousands of them across the border and have disappeared. And so we have got a new statement about that. So I'm going to read part of it, and then Oral will finish it. Okay, we the people of the great New California state notice to all Californians the declaration of the 14th constitutional default. The citizens of New California have decided to remedy the abuse of power by the government of California by exercising their right to form a new state, provided in United States Constitution, Article 4, Sections 3 and 4. We are determined to live under a state government in the United States of America and under the Constitution of the United States. The people of California are suffering from a tyrannical state government which fails to provide a Republican form of government, enables and supports access to its southern border to the invasion of the United States of America by illegal foreign nationals, and protects vicious criminals who commit outrageous acts of violence upon the citizens of America, all caused by a government of and for a monoparty system led by a tyrannical, pusillanimous dictator who openly defies federal law. And so now Oral will read our 10th indictment.
Thank you very much. As I read this, I just wanted to share first, I really hope that I back this up 100% for New California and what has been written here. And in addition, this morning, if I had an opportunity Chairman, I might, come back and have that 3 minutes about pro-life. So it would be up to the board on that. It is evident over the last 3 years, since the most corrupt presidential election in American history of 2020, that the coordinated design for the destruction of the United States has come from Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom, who have both spearheaded the effort to trample on and destroy the U.S. Constitution. Nothing is more glaring to the American citizens that both Biden and Newsom have complete contempt for the rule of constitutional law, than to witness the duality with which they have both openly violated Article 4, Section 4, and its guarantees of a Republican form of government, keeping all Americans free from invasion and that of domestic violence. It is clear both are committing treason. The three most assured aspects of our Constitution is the guarantee that all three elements of Article 4 will be adhered to by all compact members of the Union of States, like a three-legged stool. To remove one leg, the stool itself becomes destabilized and ultimately useless. Likewise, if one state fails to provide any one of the three guarantees, then the Union of States becomes less stable. If any one state fails to provide all three elements of Article 4, it is in default of its responsibilities to its citizens to constitutionally govern. The federal government under Biden and the state government of California under Newsom both have removed the legs out from under Article 4, Section 4, and thus destabilized the United States. We call the United States of America. Our Republican form of government vanishes when corrupt election systems destroy our God-given rights to self-govern. So it is with invasion. When the citizens have no authority to control who enters the county, invaders take over the land. Then domestic violence follows and becomes the new law of the land. Only once in our American history have we witnessed the collapse of all three elements of Article 4, and that was the Civil War of 1861 to 62. Now, on the eve of our nation's second Civil War comes mankind's most evil institution, the same evil institution that brought us the first Civil War, slavery. Due to the lack of constitutional governance, slavery has found a home in California. Encouraged and supported by Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden, slavery is in all its variants flourishes. The most evil of slave evil is child sex trafficking, where babies to teen children are bought, and sold for sexual pleasure or organ transplant in China. The latter are slaughtered and their organs harvested. Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden's evil is ours now. The governments of the U.S. and California, the current socialist president of the U.S., governor, dictator, and mono-party system, along with local officials, are following a coordinated design with the intent to actively engage in acts of insurrection against the U.S. Constitution. This is treason. Biden and Newsom both have placed in their respective positions by numerous fraudulent elections. Biden and Newsom both preside as dictators of all three branches of their respective governments. The government branches long succumbed to the fraudulent elections and the treasonous bureaucratic state that now both rule what are known as democracies.
Get ready to wrap it up there pretty quick, Dr. Custer.
One more paragraph. President Biden and Newsom both openly endorse and use the machinery of government to support the invasion of the United States and California destruction of lawful behavior by promoting domestic violence. In a recent letter to Biden from Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who wrote, President Biden and his administration have left Americans in our country completely vulnerable to unprecedented illegal immigration pouring across the southern border. Instead of upholding the rule of law and securing the border, the Biden administration has attacked and sued Texas for stepping up to protect American citizens from historic levels of illegal immigrants, deadly drugs like fentanyl, and terrorists entering our country.
Good morning, Board, Supervisors. Chris Strong from Ione, California. We just want to let you know, in New California, we had a public event at the Capitol last Friday that was, we want you guys to be aware of. I think as time goes by and you sort of get used to the tyranny, the gradual creep of tyranny, and it's important to say it for what it is, because I think most Americans realize we're living in a state of increasingly chaotic, tyrannical government. We just had the COVID mandates. Millions of people have been injured by these. The media is not complicit. We don't have representation in our state government. And the tipping point for me is child sex trafficking, organ harvesting, and foreign nationals coming right across our border unchecked. We went from a COVID scare where we wouldn't let anyone into our country, and now everybody's coming in our country. I remember 9/11 in 2001, where we were so concerned about foreign military nationals, and now they're just coming across unchecked. And I think we, like I said, we get used to this gradual creep of allowing these abuses to happen, and I think most people can agree we're approaching a tipping point in this country, and this isn't just a hyperbole. This is something where our country's at stake. And this issue with child sex trafficking, for me, I take it personally because this is going on. We had this event where our pro tempore governor, Paul Preston, reminded us about the history of California. California was if not the first, one of the first states to put prohibiting slavery in their constitution. It was actually in Article 1, Section 18. And then that was in 1849. And then in 1865, the 13th Amendment was added, prohibiting slavery in our country. And then, I don't know if you're aware, in 1879, there was a new constitution adopted in California. It was just papered over. It wasn't even an amendment to the original. It was an entirely new constitution in 1879, which led to so many amendments now, and there's over 900 amendments now. But that adopted constitution even prohibited slavery. And now we have, across the border, these children, they're purchased. They're purchased from a foreign location, and they're brought in. And we even had a state senator candidate, Shirlita Bassett. She was in attendance at that meeting on Saturday, and she witnessed in August, I don't know if you're aware of, in the Bay Area, there was a ship that was brought in with, I don't know the exact number, it was around 100 children that were on the ship, and they weren't docked on land because that's under county jurisdiction for sheriffs. They keep them in this maritime waters, international waters, and these children were discovered, and many of them were actually marked with their body parts because they had already been purchased. And this is going on, and it's really on us. It's on we the people, and on everyone, definitely who swears.
What do you mean marked with their body parts?
They had been purchased basically from a foreign location for heart, kidney, any type of body part that, because they could be killed, probably sacrificed, those organs would be purchased, and a buyer had already paid for that. So they were already basically donated, or what would the word, purchased. Yeah. Yeah, a sticker denoting who had purchased them and for what body part. Yeah, organ. I mean, obviously not a finger, but a valuable organ body part. Yeah, and many of the children had died en route, and this wasn't in the news because the news is complicit. The media is complicit with this, and we just can't keep acknowledging this. And Governor Newsom, President Biden, they're complicit with this. They're giving a blind eye to this, probably because they benefit off of this. But obviously, foreign invasion, that's children, and that's slavery too. They're when you're purchased for use for someone else, that's slavery, and that doesn't even get into the foreign nationals that could be coming into our country. So. We just, I have this press release for this event Friday. We read this at the Capitol in front of the governor's mansion there. Is that his mansion or just his office? I'm not sure. In front of the Capitol. And so you can read this. And we're not up here to try to raise, get attention or something. This is something that, if this doesn't stop, I mean, I don't know at what point you just give in and concede to total outright tyranny, because it's not going to happen under New California's watch and under my watch. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And this is a very serious issue. So we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Hold on a second there, Dr. Custer. Hold on, Lois. Butch, you come up to speak, Butch? Okay.
Good morning, members of the board. Butch Cranford, Plymouth, California.
Morning.
Come to you today to speak on an issue that apparently the board believes is not in the interest of the public. The public notice of the ISMND. I'd like to know when that's going to happen for the Board of Supervisors to inform the citizens and taxpayers of this county that they are meeting and conferring with the Ion Band, apparently to reach an agreement on the proposed casino, which is now moved from the city of Plymouth to the county. I would hope that the Board of Supervisors would at least meet and confer with their residents and taxpayers to the same degree that they're meeting and conferring with the Ion Band. The ISMND is woefully inadequate, and that's being kind. Your own planner has informed me that it is not adequate. This Plymouth planner has come to the same conclusion. It's not specific, and it's filled with a host of false, misleading, and unsupportable statements. First of all, the project is not a reservation. The project site is not a reservation. They included the term reservation 135 times in the first 73 pages of this document. They can put it in there 10,000 times and it doesn't make it a reservation. So one of the things that, as an act of good faith, the Ion Band ought to be requested to do is to provide this county and our citizens and residents with the evidence that it is a reservation. Just ask for the document as an act of good faith from the Ion Band. The 2009 FEIS on which this IS is based, it doesn't take much of a mathematician to figure out that the newest data that could possibly be in this document, this environmental document, is 15 years old. And some of the data is 20 years old. I would hate to be meeting and conferring on a project where I have to look at data that is a decade or 2 decades old. Makes no sense to me. All the maps that are included in the ISND are wrong. On more than one account, they're wrong. They are simply wrong. They are not accurate, they're misleading, and they're false. The FEIS from 2009 contains no mention of a 349 machine casino in the county. Not one, not anywhere. There is nothing in the FEIS from 2009 remotely related to a casino in the county. Oh, and all the maps in the FEIS from 2009 are wrong as well. So, meeting and conferring with a group that, in my opinion, is willing to mislead you for decades might not be the wisest thing to do without asking for some supporting documentation. There is no map in the FEIS that shows Village Drive as the main entrance to the casino. Not one. The main entrance is located elsewhere. And I would suggest that if the Ion Band wants to move the casino to the county, the main entrance should be in the county and not in the city of Plymouth. There's no documents to support the claims made by the BIA in the deeds, the 2020 deeds, alleging to take the parcels into trust, that the Ion Band is eligible for the Indian Land Consolidation Act. It's a simple thing to ask for these documents. If they have them, they should provide them as an act of good faith. Asking questions doesn't cost anything. The project site is not eligible for gaming. It's not a reservation. It's not in trust. And the land was allegedly taken into trust by the acting regional director in Sacramento. Anybody who's familiar with federal law understands that for land into trust to be approved for gaming under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act requires the Secretary of Interior's approval, not the acting regional director, who happens to work for Amy Dusky, a member of the Ion Band. No conflict of interest there. It's time to start asking the Ion Band to produce the documents that support that they're eligible for the Indian Land Consolidation Act. 25 U.S.C. 2101. The requirements are right there. Why don't we ask them for the evidence that they voted against the IRA in 1934? How about the trust deeds for the Ion Indians indicating that land was held in trust for them prior to March 17th, 2020? Or how about the land consolidation plan that's required approved by the Secretary of the Interior? I'm sure they have all these documents. It'll be easy for them to produce them as an act of good faith. Just request the Ion Band produce all these documents prior to any further meet and confer meetings and prior to any agreement. The Ion Band is the group that needs the agreement, not Amador County. As soon as you agree, if you agree, they will have an investor, which they have not been able to procure for the last 21 years. Once they have an investor, you're going to have a casino in your county. It's time for the Board of Supervisors to start asking these important questions and taking actions to assure the project site alleged trust acquisition complies with federal law. It's a simple thing. Questions are not hard to ask. If you're not sure what questions to ask, I would be more than happy to assist the board in preparing a list of questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Should I sign in again?
No, not necessary.
Okay. I hope to have an opportunity to share with the gentleman that just spoke, because I agree with 90% of what he just shared. What I want to read now is a letter from a company called Live Action. And it's in support of essentially what we have shared, that we support pro-life. And what we've just shared about New California being against illegal immigration and human trafficking. And it fits right in with this. The leader and president of Live Action has said this: research shows that as many as 75% of women who see ultrasounds of their preborn babies embrace life. That's why abortion activists are trying to eliminate all ultrasound requirements before an abortion. Already, dozens of states have no such life-saving requirements. This has gotten worse with the expansion of abortion pills by mail, ensuring that women won't even have to visit a doctor's office before getting deadly abortion pills at home and killing their babies. Even pharmacies like Rite Aid and CVS will soon be dispensing deadly abortion drugs. If we want to save lives, we have to reach women at home. We can't wait for them to visit their local pro-life pregnancy center. That's why we just released a window to the womb. It's a cutting-edge new web application that uses world-class 3D animation to reveal in breathtaking detail the development of a baby in the womb. It is already transforming hearts and minds, but we can't reach more expectant moms and dads with the truth without the support of passionate pro-life people like members of the Board of Supervisors. So I just like to support. I hope that you exercise influence that is pro-life. It's gotten worse since Roe versus Wade was reversed by the Supreme Court, which would not have happened had it not been for the 3 new Supreme Court judges that were appointed by President Trump. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? You know, if you just give me a minute, I'd like to indulge in something. Speaking about the border, a friend of mine, a federal law enforcement officer, went down there and he says, God, was that a spooky place. A number of years back, I saw somebody sent me, you get these emails where there's all kinds of goofball stuff out there. Trying to find the truth is really hard. And this one was a sign. I've been trying to find it, I can't find it anymore, but it had a picture and it said, and they said this sign was like 80 or 100 miles inside the U.S. territory from the border with Mexico. And the sign, basically, as I recall, said something about warning. Beyond this area, you will find armed gunmen, high-speed vehicles. If you see backpacks on the ground, do not approach. You see groups of people, don't approach, and went on, yada, yada, yada. And it said Department of Parks. I thought, oh, it's one of those goofball things, you know. It had a phone number on it. So I was kind of curious, you know, I'm going to call that phone number. I called the phone number, and this lady answers, hello, Department of Parks. And I stopped, and I went, yeah, hi. I didn't know what to say, because I was expecting just one answer. And so I told the lady, hey, you know, I saw this sign, and I just called the number. And she said, oh, yeah. She says, we have a major problem down here. It's really bad, and we're getting no help at all. I just wanted to put that out there for the record. I found that really interesting. Anyway, with that, Any members of the board like to comment anything? 2 minutes, Lois.
Okay, I just wanted to say that California is doing nothing to stop the border. And one reason is because California is out of money. We don't have money to put the National Guard in place. We're out of money. And so I'd like to say that Paul Preston, as the president of New California, he is asking other states' governors to send their National Guard to help us. We have no place else to turn because California will not close that border. They will not help. And so he has sending letters to other governors to ask them to send their National Guard. We are in a desperate situation in California. Since Texas has closed their border, more and more are coming to California. And the problem is that most of these are military-age Chinese men, and they are being housed at Indian reservations in Southern California and at, what's the Army base in Southern California? I can't think of it. And so they're coming in, there's tens of thousands of them are coming in. And so Governor Abbott got him stopped from Texas. So now there are more, and they're coming to Arizona and to California. This is a desperate situation. And so I just wanted to let you know that we are trying in New California to find a solution, because our governor, he just wants to be president. And so he's papering over the budget deficit, spending money, outwardly spending a lot of money, and saying, oh, I'm spending money for this, this, and this. Well, he's stealing it from the schools and from the counties. Some of the counties are laying off under the deputy sheriffs, and I would be interested in a report of how our county is doing money-wise, because the governor has no money. Since he has,
If you want to stay around, Lois,
Yeah.
probably in a little while, we'll be having a budget hearing, during this meeting.
you have a budget here?
Yep, it's coming up. It is item 5D, so it's right after the winery ordinance, so you probably got 4 items
Okay.
to go, and
Okay,
We'll be there.
I will stay and listen to that. Thank you very much.
thank you. Moving on, looking for approval agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Cruz, second, I think, was by Brown. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous, 4-0-1. Moving down, we have approval of items of the consent agenda. We have a couple items to add on that consent agenda.
Okay.
We have one item is Sheriff's Office, approval of standard agreement between the county and the Sheriff's Office and Department of State Hospitals. That's item 1A. We'll put that down as 7V on the consent. And next one is item 1B, it's Law Library Committee, approval of the reappointment of the following persons to the subject committee through December 31st, 2024. Grace Pack, Corey Tierpak, John Allen, John C. Fowler. We'll put that down as item 7W on the consent. And looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Those changes. Second. I think motion by Axe, I think the second by Brown again. You just too quick down there. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It carries 4-0-1. Move down the regular agenda. We have item 5A. This is a presentation or proclamation recognizing the month of March as Red Cross Month. And we have a representative from Red Cross, Ms. Sims. Would you like to speak about this?
Linda Sims. Do I have to sign this thing? Or is that
Yes, you do.
public comment? Oh, okay.
Please. If your friend's gonna speak, she needs to sign in too.
Not funny.
He spoke. I'm kidding. No, you're fine. You don't have to sign in.
This is for good measure.
Okay.
Well, we want to thank you so much for this recognition. March every year is proclaimed Red Cross Month in the United States. And we've had Red Cross has been in Amador for well over 100 years. And as you read the history of the Argonaut disaster and all that, Red Cross was very, very involved back then, more than 100 years ago, already established. What we do, besides the disasters that you always hear about, is local, regional, and national disasters. And we do a lot of preparedness, education now, from the kindergarten level, where we have a program called Prepare with Pedro, to senior citizens. We're going to be at the Senior Center on this next week, doing a presentation on fire safety and evacuation, just help get seniors prepared at their monthly luncheon. We also have a national smoke alarm installation called Sound the Alarm, where we collaborate with fire departments, and they install the alarms, and we do a preparedness piece and talk about what you need to do if you have to evacuate for any reason. We also do health and safety training. We also do blood services and, of course, service to the armed forces, which is where we all started in the Civil War. I didn't introduce my cohort. This is Jo Luttrell. She's also, we're both residents of Plymouth County. Jo lives right here in Jackson, and she's one of our newer volunteers. What we're looking for is to build up our capacity. We have to be able to stand up shelters if the sheriff requests us to. And right now, we are able to do that, but we could certainly use more help. So if you hear of somebody who's looking for a very fulfilling volunteer opportunity, please send them toward the Red Cross. Or if you have a group that wants preparedness presentations, we do that also. Anyway, thank you so very much for the presentation, for the proclamation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, Red Cross has done a lot of good work for a lot of years. Sometimes people are in need. I mean, you come and you help out, and you got a lot of people, a lot of horsepower, and really good. It's a really good organization. We have a proclamation here, or a resolution, excuse me. I'll go ahead and read that and then we'll all come down and we'll present it. And you can get some pictures if you'd like.
We'd love that.
Amador County Board of Supervisors, Resolution 24-028, resolution recognizing the month of March as Red Cross Month. Whereas during the American Red Cross Month in March, we recognize the compassion of people in Amador County and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. And whereas this generous spirit is woven into the fabric of our community and advances a humanitarian legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, one of the most honored women in our country's history, who nobly dedicated herself to alleviating suffering, and whereas today, kind-hearted individuals in our community exemplify Barton's commitment as they step up through the Red Cross in the California Gold Country region to provide a beacon of hope for our neighbors in need. Through their voluntary and selfless contributions, they make a life-saving difference in people's darkest hours, whether it's delivering shelter, food, and comfort during disasters, providing critical blood donations for hospital patients, supporting military families, veterans, and caregivers through the unique challenge of service, saving lives with first aid, CPR, and other skills, or delivering aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by global crises. And whereas we hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who lead with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join this commitment to strengthen our community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Amador County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim March 2024 as Red Cross Month and encourage all citizens of Amador County to reach out, support its humanitarian mission. Foregoing resolution was passed by Board of Supervisors on March 12, 2024.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution, or?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Axe, second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. Moving down, we have, item 5B, this is an update on tree mortality mitigation activities by Tad Mason, ESS Consultants, and here we have, today we have Dr. Richard Harris and Ed Strufenegger.
Good morning. This is Tad Mason.
Good morning, Tad.
Morning, Chairman and board members. I'll be reporting in remotely, but we do have the A team of Dr. Harris and Eddie Strufenegger presenting presenting in person. We have a short 8-slide deck to provide our periodic update of the tree mortality program. And with that, I'll pass the microphone on to Dr. Harris.
Greetings, haven't seen you in a while.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
All the faces still look familiar. Where's Forster? He's on vacation?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, good for him. Avoiding all the ion issues, huh? Okay, so this is, how many times have we done this? And, you know, we're kind of, I think it's been almost 7 years. So just a program summary. Since we started in 2017, we've done 25 tree mortality projects, removing dead and hazardous trees that are located along county roads. So far, we've taken out over 9,000 trees, and we've done a pretty good job in terms of avoiding any kind of no worker injuries, no serious property damage. You know, the reimbursements have all come through from OES. So we're very happy with the way the project's gone, and hopefully you guys are too. We just finished 3 projects covering the entire county east of Highway 49. If you can recall, the original proclamation was basically for bark beetle killed trees, you know, in the sort of conifer belt. But what we found over time is that we've also had a lot of mortality at the lower elevations. So these last 3 projects were at the higher elevations. We completed the last one on December 11th. So we've treated all county roads bordering U.S. Forest Service and BLM lands and private lands where there have been hazardous trees. I mean, some roads have not had hazardous trees, but you know, we've taken out as many as we can along all the county roads that have them. There have been 14 different tree service companies, and again, no issues, no serious issues. And we're so happy with that, because if you think about it, some of the biggest issues that have been associated with tree mortality have actually fell on Southern California Edison and PG&E, where workers have been, you know, even killed while removing hazardous trees. So we've been so lucky. I mean, so lucky. Knock on wood. We've got public support has been good. You know, the way that we actually, we don't acknowledge that by all the kudos we get from people. We acknowledge that by the lack of complaints. So that's really, it's kind of funny, but we get a few kudos every now and then, but mainly we're happy we don't hear the phone ringing off the hook with people telling us, you know, we've got a problem.
There was one complaint I found intriguing.
What was that?
The one when your group got a right of entry to property to remove one small little measly dead cedar tree, and the property exchanged hands and didn't get caught, and the contractor did a nice job removing the cedar tree, and a new owner was very mad, and so I think you folks said, we'll replace the wood, we'll do everything we can do, and he just wanted to be mad. I found it was kind of interesting.
Well, that does happen where properties change hands.
Nothing you could really, it's really almost hard to prevent, but it's kind of interesting because really did the guy a favor and a service, and he just wanted to be mad.
That's the thing that kind of blows our mind, is that we're doing you a favor, and when people complain about, well, we don't want our tree out. Well, it's a dead tree. We're doing you a favor. I mean, we don't take out live trees. And, sometimes we have to explain that to people, because sometimes they'll actually tell Ed, is this tree gonna come back? It's dead as a doornail. And, they think, if I water it, it'll come back. I mean, we've had that happen, right? If I water it, it's gonna come back, right? Well, not so much. Okay, so we have 3 projects underway or in advanced planning. There's 2 on Forest Service ground. We're literally totally snowed out at Silver Lake and Bear River. But those projects will take place as soon as we can get in there. And those are covered by an agreement between the Forest Service and the county, where the Forest Service will reimburse the 25% of the costs that are not reimbursed by Cal OES. So it's a total wash in terms of the cost for those Forest Service projects. It's a really good thing. We have another project, and Ed and I will be out there marking the trees today. Project 23, there's on the county roads that are west of 49. And we have 60 parcels, and there's 2 BLM parcels and some county road right-of-way parcels as well. So we're gonna mark those trees. We've kind of delayed a little bit on this because we want to wait till the trees leaf out a little bit, so we can tell, we go out there and we see, they look like they're dead, but they come back to life. So we don't want to take out any trees that are living. So we have to wait a little bit until they start to break bud. Okay, I've already talked about the projects on National Forest land, and I've already talked about the reimbursement. So there's some pictures of the Forest Service ground. This is at Bear River. You can see all those red dots are dead trees. All those red dots.
A lot of trees.
A lot of trees. A lot of mortality in the high elevations among the fir. Okay? It's things of, you can go on to the next slide. That's the other project that's up at Silver Lake, and look at the density of the trees up there in that limited area. There's over 1,400 trees in these 2 projects. And by the time we get out there, there's gonna be probably, a lot more. They're just sort of dropping like flies before your eyes. So, next slide. So new mortality is still showing up. I would say, and I think Ed would probably agree, that the mortality that we're experiencing now is at a lesser intensity than it was in the beginning. We've had some pretty good rainfall over the last couple of years, so things are starting to do a little bit better, but it's not so much that the mortality has stopped, it's kind of shifted, right? So from the bark beetle killed trees, pines, we're starting to see more like dead firs, dead incense cedar, oaks, ornamental trees. It's the susceptibility to the drought over the many, many years we've had the drought has basically, resulted in cumulative mortality, not due to insects, but due just to basically the trees giving up the ghost after so many years of stress. Just a few pictures, and then, so we continue to see new mortality, and even species such as alder, which are located along watercourses. We're finding some of those are succumbing. Less mortality than observed in previous years at the low to mid elevations, higher mortality at the higher elevations, I would say, or at least it hasn't tapered off at the higher elevations. The Forest Service, in fact, has recognized this, and they created sort of a task force to look at high elevation fir mortality specifically, because it's really, it's pretty dramatic. So in all of our projects, we normally have to mark additional newly dead trees. So when we go out today, you know, we may see some trees that we didn't see the first time around, and we'll mark those if we have right of entry forms. I do the processing of all the right of entry forms. We used to have those sent to the county, and then the county, you know, fill up its file drawers with paper forms. But now I take care of all that at my end. I have the forms sent to me, and I enter them into the spreadsheet. We still are able to use Cindy Engel as a consultant to us after she left ACTC. You know, she moved to Washington, but she agreed to help us out with mapping. So we're blessed by having her services. She's just really been phenomenal over all these years. And so we give her the form, you know, the spreadsheets with the parcels on it. She produces the maps. She gives those maps to Ed. The maps now have the trees located on them. So when we go out, we can actually GPS and see the trees. Where before we just had the parcels and we knew there was a tree there. Now we know exactly where the trees are. So here we go. We'll put 23 together over the next month or two, probably implement it early summer. I don't know about, you know, where we go from there. There's no indication that Cal OES is curtailing this program. So, you know, in a way, what's kind of shifting from, you know, emergency mortality to like continuing maintenance, which is a good thing for you guys because that takes the burden off of you and your public works people to do that continuing maintenance. So as long as Cal OES is willing to pay you to do these projects, you're going to be able to take care of these hazardous trees, and that takes the burden off of your public works folks. The public works folks will sometimes call us and say, hey, we got a tree out here. Ed will go out and take a look, and if it's one that we can remove as part of a project, we're good. So anyway, it's proactive removal of hazardous trees before they fall on the road, and then you have to send 6 people out there to try to remove it, right? It's a good deal. So beginning with negotiations with the Forest Service, and we still have a few things to work out with them. They seem to want to do it as a conventional timber sale. We've never done that before. We've always done it as a permit, and it's worked out fine. So we're hoping we can, you know, kind of smooth those wrinkles out a little bit before we actually go out there and do the work. The trees are difficult to sell, right? Decking them and trying to sell them. We got decks still out at Bear River.
You know, about that, Richard, if you could structure it to where if a person wanted to come in and do that hazard tree sale, the contractor, as a timber sale, that'd probably work. What they've done in the past is they went in there and they told somebody, take out those trees, and they cut them in all kinds of oddball lengths.
Right, exactly.
And then the Forest Service tried selling them, which it doesn't work. If they made it to where you could say, hey, we have this hazard tree sale, whoever purchases it can either stack up the logs somewhere or they can haul the logs off while they're doing the work at the timber sale, that might work.
Well, we want them to take the trees. If they can sell them, that's great.
Yeah.
You can take them over to Tahoe, you know, to Carson City, to the new mill over, that's great.
Get the contractor doing the work and take them right, follow that tree, load it on a truck and gone. But when you say...
That's what we want.
That'd be the best.
That's what we want. You know, we don't want to deck the logs for the Forest Service to sell. We want to do it the way you just...
And it'd be a lot, I think probably get a lot better, a lot cheaper price too.
Well,
a better job.
You know, Rich Stevens did that on Silver Lake.
Well,
the trees are gone. You know, and he was able to actually sell them. So, yeah.
And you have a lot less wear and tear in your roads because rather than dragging them all down the decks and trying, a lot of times you can load them right where they fall, a self-loader, and it's a lot cleaner.
I've taken too much time. Have any questions, you guys?
Yeah, one quick question, Dr. Harris. How else do you dispose of the trees? You know, is biomass going anywhere at this point?
Well, you know, it's interesting. You know, sometimes we were taking trees over to Wilseyville
Mm-hmm.
because there's this biomass plant that's supposedly gonna be constructed there. I don't know if they're still taking logs. We find that a lot of logs go to the shavings plant down in Jamestown. So they're used for animal bedding. If they're good saw logs, then they might go to SPI, usually down south, not in Lincoln. So, our contractors are pretty, astute in terms of how they get rid of these trees. I mean, they find all sorts of ways to get rid of them, but, you know, and we give them credit for that.
Is there enough options, or is it a bare minimum?
What would you, Ed, you wanna say something about that? I mean, Ed's our marketing expert.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. Ed Strufenegger, I'm the consulting forester on the project. Yeah, the marketing of logs is very challenging. You know, we've had big fires, which reduces the amount of logs that Sierra Pacific Industries wants to take because they're salvaging their own trees from these fires. We're seeing that the export market is, I won't say drying up, but there seems to be a lot of highs and lows, and now there's a low with the export market down in Sacramento. Ampine was a big blow. Being able to take logs to Ampine was always an option, and now they're gone, and we don't think there's any hope that they're coming back anytime soon. You hear about all these things going on, what they call SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel, big places down in Stockton, ethanol plants, things like that. Those are all out in the planning stages, and they're not helping us now. So these are maybe things that we can look at maybe years from now, but in terms of like, what do we do for the next upcoming projects? Getting rid of logs is a really big deal. And like Richard mentioned, we got a new sawmill that they're building up, that has been built up in Carson City. That's really good for the high elevation areas, taking logs over there, but for the rest of it, it is always a challenge.
Okay.
So is there any, you know, a lot of our locals have to get rid of logs and stuff. Is there any process that they can do?
Yeah, there is. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I know PG&E has done a lot of work in the county since the,
Yeah, they drop a lot of logs, but they don't take all of them.
That's right, yeah. And a lot of the logs that they have dropped, I think Richard had mentioned that basically, you know, we sometimes get associated with that type of operation. That, no, when we say we're gonna remove a log, we're gonna remove a log. I'd say probably 95 to 98% of the trees that we've taken out, we've removed those trees. The only ones we can't are if they're on the other side of a creek or on very steep ground or something like that. So it does get to be challenging. PG&E did have a yard at the Martell, at the old decking grounds at Martell early on, to go ahead and take logs there, and then they chipped them up, and I don't know where those chips went. I think to a
biomass plant.
They went to a biomass plant. But yeah, I think there was, you know, talk of the old cedar mill up in Pioneer having a reload yard to go and merchandise logs. That unfortunately never materialized. So it's just an ongoing issue, trying to get rid of this. And a lot of people ask us, they say, hey, how do we get rid of our logs, either from PG&E or logs that they've had dropped on their property? And it's a big problem, yeah.
So do you see any of the supply of logs changing in the future, diminishing, or it seems like they always grow back, don't they?
They do, yeah. And I think what's happening is, as Richard said, the mortality will never get back to that low baseline level that we've seen in the county. I mean, everybody says, okay, well, there's a baseline, trees are growing and dying things. At some point, you expect that we're going to get back down to maybe 3% mortality, 4% mortality is what we've seen in the past. I don't know we'll ever get back to that point because that's based upon, you know, trees always renewing themselves, and in the past that was done by logging. We'd have a lot of small, you know, property owners logging their parcels. You get new trees coming up, the older trees are gone. that hasn't happened, on a larger basis, in basically in Amador County here for a number of years. And so we're getting more trees, larger trees, competing against each other, and I think that mortality, that baseline mortality is just gonna continue to come on up. But in terms of supply of trees, yeah, there's always plenty of trees up there. So I think the bigger problem is how do we get rid of the ones that are dying?
Right, okay. Thank you.
Any members of the public? You know, one thing, being as you're here, and I think you're probably on video, your program is available to people that have a tree that will hit a county road or county infrastructure. If that tree is dead and it's on a county road, you know, can hit that county road, give you folks a call and or contact the county and you'll come take those trees out.
Right. We don't want to be misleading, though. I mean, sometimes with the press releases that we put out, we get calls from people who have, you know, they have got a dead tree that's in their defensible space. CAL FIRE has red tagged them, get rid of the tree. They think that we can provide that service. So they have to be clear, and I always am very clear with anybody who contacts me that if you have a tree that could hit a county road and that it's dead, or that we determine is dying, that qualifies for the program. There used to be a program that was administered by, I think, by the RCD or the Fire Safe Council, where people could get funding to remove any dead tree on their property. That program no longer exists. So that, unfortunately for people who have a dead tree that, you know, is a hazard to their assets, or that's a defensible space issue, we don't have any financial recourse to remove those trees. That's a big hole in the whole system, really.
I will say, I think it's been a real benefit to the county and the residents of the county, because sometimes up in Silver Lake Pines, you guys are up there with cranes taking trees out away from houses, and you got a real economy of scale. Some of the bids you've got have been really phenomenally cheap. I mean, it probably costs homeowners 5 times as much to do it.
At least. You know, over the years, we've taken out all the trees at an average cost for everything, including us, of less than $500 a tree. What was that one that you had over on Highway 88, where they got a quote to remove the several trees around? What was that one?
Yeah, I talked to a property owner, and they live actually up in up by Silver Lake, had a cabin up there. They had 3 trees removed at a cost of $27,000. So yeah, it gets very expensive. Yeah. So don't get me wrong; these were difficult trees to remove, but I've talked to many other property owners, some in the Buckhorn Pioneer area, that have spent, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars removing dead trees from their property, and it is it's a collateral benefit to the public, is what we're doing for the county is also helping all these other people.
Yeah, and something that really kind of surprised me, I guess Calaveras County put their program on hold. I think they spent too much money in some other, maybe, public safety programs.
How about code enforcement?
Is that, okay, that's their problem, huh?
Oh, yeah, by the way, and, you know, I don't want to say anything out of sorts, but Calaveras has put the program back in place. And
that must be fairly new then.
Yeah, one of the reasons why they put it back in place last September was because a lot of folks came to the board meeting and said, hey, this is a benefit to us and to you. Why are you suspending the program? So they just re-upped the program, so we're continuing with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you,
Well
sirs.
done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this item we've all been waiting for. Item 5C, this discussion of possible action relative to the approval of a resolution declaring the intention to create a wine heritage district, and another resolution requesting that Plymouth, Amador City, and Cedar Creek all participate in the creation of this district. Well, Mr. Stasio, would you like to, John, address this?
Somebody's got to be a spokesman.
Thank you, Chairman Oneto, Board of Supervisors. I'm John DeStasio. I'm the current president of the Amador Vintners Association, and also the owner of DeStasio Vineyards. I want to also thank several of our winery members that are here, today to, support this request. This resolution of intention really, as you know, because we've spoken to each of you, just establishes a public process. And by way of history, this is not a proposal that is an overnight thing. We've been working on this for 2 years. It started in March of 2022 with strategic planning, and the Vintners Association at that time determined their highest need was to have a sustainable source of funding. And part of to do that is their mission is really to market the region, market the wineries on their behalf. But as you know, we've been very narrowly focused on a couple large passport events, and those generate the most revenue. They drive a lot of traffic to the county for just a few days a year, and they don't really provide a foundation for spreading out economic development, having more depth and breadth to the types of things we can do. So we're in a little bit of a vicious cycle, if you will, where we're marketing the things that nobody thinks are ideal, but yet we don't have the money to create awareness and do things in collaboration with others and to create synergies. So we started with the strategic plan adoption. The members of the AVA adopted it. We then did a feasibility study to look at a heritage district, which is a very common vehicle to create sustainable funding. Effectively, it's businesses assessing themselves. It's a pass-through to the consumers, but by assessing themselves, they generate sustainable revenues to be able to market more broadly and to, again, collaborate with others. The feasibility study we did was acceptable, and that was based on a 1% assessment. And that is only on direct-to-consumer sales within the tasting rooms, taxable events within the county. So it's not for wineries that have large distribution and so forth. It's really just taxable events within Amador County that occur within direct-to-consumer sales in the tasting room. So after that, we did a management district plan, and then we undertook
Question on that, John.
Yeah.
So you're saying direct-to-consumer sales in the tasting room. So
Yeah.
if people have their wine club members show up, that would be considered, that would be cut under this umbrella.
Yeah. If a wine club member comes in and they make a transaction within the tasting room, or it's a taxable event within Amador County, yes. But
Okay.
distribution outside the state or even within the state would not be.
So basically almost like wholesale would not be
That's right.
taxed.
Yeah. And so the one thing that we wanted to make sure we did was to be deliberative and also methodical and have a process that had integrity relative to communicating and outreach with the winery members. There's 92 or 98 O2 licensed wineries in the county. And I think we've made multiple efforts to contact every one of them. As you know, public processes are you can try to do your best to get people to engage, and that isn't always the case, but we feel like we've done a very thorough job. We solicited support through a petition process, and the law requires you achieve 51%. We've got around 60%, and a higher percentage of those who responded. But at the end of the day, it still requires a public process to become a durable process. And I will say, adopting the resolution of intention does not presuppose adoption, but it does give this thing the light of day that it deserves, given the work that we've put into it, which is a public process. And the reason we need the county to do that is you need a lead agency that's authorized to collect taxes, or in this case, an assessment. The one other feature I would say that I think is a positive, under all circumstances, the law requires that even under the establishment of this type of an assessment district, it has to sunset in 5 years. So it's not, once you get it in, it's forevermore, even if it's not effective. And who determines it's effective is those who are assessed. And so at the end of that 5 years, they'll have to make a determination to continue it. And then just the last thing I would say is that, given the likelihood that we're all interested in sustainable funding. It's not likely that it's gonna come from local governments, given the condition of the state and what the impacts might be in that regard. And we also want to do this in collaboration. We're working with ACT, we're working with the chamber, and we're hoping this initiative will create a catalyst to help, generally with hospitality of all types, restaurants, lodging, and also the wineries, which is a big economic engine for the county. So we're asking today that you adopt the resolution of intention and allow us to get the process started. There'll be a public meeting, I think April 9th, as is currently planned, and then a final consideration of May 14th. And over that period of time, you'll have the opportunity to hear from the public. And I do think once a proposal like this gets real, then people will likely come out. But I feel like we beat the bushes well, and we have a good sense of where the group is. And like I said, I feel like longer term, this is beneficial, not just for the wineries, but for the county as a whole. So happy to answer any questions.
My question is, this is a pass-through for through the county. And, of course, we'll have administrative costs, dealing with it. What is your thoughts on that? So
we talked to the county staff about it, and we even took the step of contacting HDL, who's a contract, they do the contract sales tax collection and other types, and this is a subset of sales tax. And the intent all along is that this is revenue neutral to the county. And I do think the county staff has expressed, I don't want to speak for them, but they've said, we don't really want to take this on ourselves and have some kind of an unknown administrative burden. We did, because it's been done with other heritage districts, we did talk to HDL. We have a quote for that. But at the end of the day, prior to the adoption of this, it would be a 3% administrative cost. But if that ultimately ends up being inadequate, that's what we've been quoted so far, then the commitment we have is that it doesn't cost the county anything.
I think we'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, counties, we have issues like a lot of organizations do. We got a lot of road issues. And looking at the way the state of the state's going, I don't see the state or the federal government charging the rescues on the roads.
No.
They might make it worse, if anything.
No, the intent, and again, we fully intend to work with you, but our intent is to not have the county be out of pocket or subsidize this in any way.
I do like that sunset clause, the 5 years. I think that's critically important to me, whichever way I vote. But if it wasn't, we didn't have something like that, I wouldn't even consider it.
Yeah. Well, I will say that others that have done it, I'm not aware, and you have Dion Dwyer, who you've met from MMS Strategies, and they actually run some of the property-based improvement districts and other types of assessment districts. And most of them have found the value where they do re-up, and I think if not all, I'm not aware of others that have said, oh, after 5 years, this thing was bad. But the proof will be in the pudding, and you have metrics to say, did we get the things done we wanted to get? And we do have to report to the county once a year on how we're staying within the management district plan and fulfilling the commitments we've made to the members.
I don't know if you guys if your whole group will hit a grand slam. Like, I've been in the cattle business for a lot of years, and there's certain breeds of good cattle. And a number of years back, the Angus people got together and they put a program together, and they had certified Angus beef. It was phenomenal what they did. It's just they almost cleared the field. And now certified Angus beef is like Angus cattle sell for a lot more, and they're just the same as other ones, but they're a huge premium. So yes, there can be sometimes those marketing schemes have some effect.
Everything works.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, John. And there's got to be some members of the public that'd like to comment on this.
Good morning. Tracy
Good morning.
Berkner from Visit Amador. and taste and rest in Plymouth. And just wanted to say that we have been working with the Amador Vintners Association and the Chamber of Commerce together to get this wine heritage district out there to the community. And I was on the original meeting in 2022 where everybody just kind of spent a few days really assessing what was important to the wineries and to the wine region. And it's wonderful to see it come this far. And this is an amazing way to have our community be self-sustaining and not have to scramble as we do when we're trying to grassroots put together funding. So it's a great way to do it. There are hundreds of districts like this in California, but in all of the United States, there are thousands more, and this is the funding way to sustain these organizations and to market, to sustain these businesses and build our economy. So just encourage you to vote in favor of this.
Thank you.
Hi, Kathleen Mahan. I'm president of Visit Amador, and I'm also the director of events at Hellwig Winery. So I feel that being involved with this and all of the other efforts that ACT does with the TMD, that just to echo what Tracy was saying and John, that it's imperative to have sustainable funding, that we can help all of the organizations by Visit Amador, the Chamber, and the Vintners, and also be able to cover costs so the Board of Supervisors and their team isn't having to foot the bill for the pass-through of how that's all allocated, and it allows us to bring tourism here, jobs here, and have our midweek, which we've all been waiting to actually be able to sustain, to go outside of the box and be able to do that kind of competitive funding. So I really also behoove you to move forward with this, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Zoomers? No Zoomers?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say that, you know, I've heard about this from Mr. DeStasio, and I think it's a great idea. We did talk about metrics and tracking, you know, trying to be able to quantify the benefit, and I think he understands that. Also, Ms. Berkner and Kathleen, I think they understand that too, and that's going to be crucial going forward to the success of this kind of program in the future to continue it. And I think they understand that, and we'll make that happen. And anytime you're ready for a motion, I can make that.
Yeah, probably close.
Mr. Chair, could I ask one more question? Casey, could you come forward? I know we have a crystal ball question here for you. What is your thoughts on all of this, since a lot of this will be coming through both of your departments?
Yes, actually, it will affect the treasurer, tax collector much more, but we are definitely concerned about, I mean, right now, we don't have a mechanism in place to collect these fees or to go after delinquent fees. We don't have the staff available to do that. So we're pretty concerned that a 3% admin fee would not cover that staff person that would potentially need to be added. But again, do you have anything else, Liz? Yeah. Because more for the treasurer and tax collector.
Yeah, I could see maybe you might have a partial employee. I wouldn't see a whole employee.
Well, with discussion of this a year ago, I thought this was like already done and in the past. So, I was quite surprised when I saw this come up this last week. We had talked previously, with some other, cities that had taken this on and regretted it. They said that the percentage that they were reimbursed was not enough, to cover the fees. That was when we had suggested, and we'd also, had reminded, John, that this is not a tax, it's an assessment. Don't call it a tax. And, I'm trying to find my notes here, that, having an outside collection agency, which they did change their terminology and this latest paperwork that they would have, and, you know, another option of having an outside accounting or collection, you know, do the process. We're not set up to be, reaching out, billing, you know, the postage involved, the mailing, being a collection agency. You know, at this point, we print the tax bills with the information from the assessor's office, we send them out, we collect the funds. You know, that's where we're at. We're not, you know, set up to take on, another entity's,
Now, if there's a third party collecting the assessments, would there be much burden on the county at that point?
I wouldn't see how it would affect us, except for them depositing their money into the treasury. But they
I
work
agree.
with the Chamber of Commerce, you know, Chamber of Commerce or Amador Council Tourism. You know, they have their people or their accounting, you know, set up that could possibly, you know, take this over. I'm looking at,
So I think if the county was to move forward, I know where I'd be if we did. I wouldn't want it, you know, being a big burden on staff, or if it was, they'd have to basically, make us whole cost-wise.
and so, yeah, because right now, you know, we have, I have a really small staff. I have my chief deputy, treasury tech, and 2 other employees.
Yeah, so I think if it goes forward, I think we'll cover those bases. And then we'll see if it goes forward. I mean, right now, I don't know if the numbers have changed. You're looking at almost 60% of the wineries have give ballots back, or like, yeah, they're in favor of it. I'd like to see that number have been higher. But maybe there's some, you know, I don't know how many are opposed, and there might be a number of people saying, hey, we don't care one way or another.
Well, and then how are you going to, you know, track those costs? You know, somebody say, oh, yeah, I'm going to participate, and it's like when you know, well, when I'm having to pay a 1% or whatever the fee is that they've came up with, and it's like, well, you know, they're going to have to do their own tracking. Somebody's going to have to follow that, you know, and you know, it's like, are those numbers factual? You know, it's like, okay, well, our numbers this month were, you know, 10,000. It's like, or were they 8,000? It's like, and then all that self-reporting, and then, you know, following up on that. So
okay,
that's, yeah, just the concerns as far as like, we don't have the time management or the staffing, you know, or, you know, the cost.
okay. I think maybe that's something we can talk about maybe down the road. Just say, hey, the county doesn't want to be really involved in collecting and managing this, and it's your baby, and
Yeah.
if, you know, leave it at that.
Unless there's another department that wants to take it on. Okay.
Liz, you said that you talked to other cities or municipalities
Well, yeah,
who regretted it.
well, there was, well, one of the issues, like with us, is they, you know, they were billed and collected, let me see here. Okay, so typically assessments, you know, like what they're talking about, are proposed or collected together with business license fees. Obviously, that doesn't work for us. We don't do that. It's City of Livermore was one of the people I've talked to. She said there was not, the reimbursement was not enough, for what the city got out of doing it. There was a lot of gray area. They had to get lawyers and consultants involved, which they had to pay for, then had to go after the wine district to get reimbursed from. She felt that it was something that maybe, the chamber could handle, the Council of Tourism, Planning Department, and she just wanted to reiterate that it was not a tax. Don't call it a tax. It's her legal department, had mentioned that to them as well, so.
Yes, a question on that, maybe for, it might be a county council question. Say if this is implemented and somebody says, I'm not paying, or sues over the ordinance, who's gonna pay that cost? Or the Heritage District?
I don't know. The county would have to defend, ultimately, it's a county ordinance, it's a county, the county implements it. The county would be the main defendant. They would, presumably, the management owner's entity that's created would also be a defendant. Presumably, that cost would fall to the county.
Well, thank you.
If it was challenged. These do exist elsewhere. I don't know of them being challenged. And we did discuss this at the very beginning, and we raised the same questions. I mean, the problem is that, sometimes these fees like this, they get tacked on to property taxes. Well, we've got a mechanism. We just add a line item to the property taxes. Well, this is sales tax based. We don't have really any role in that. And so we don't even bill businesses. So since we don't have a business license tax, there's no existing sort of foundation to base that off of. So that was the problem. And then they reached out and they have told us that HDL is willing to do this for the approximate amount that they have allocated towards the admin piece, the 1% or 3%.
One thing I found kind of ironic, I talked to Erica Wright here recently, and I found that's interesting. And she was dead set against it. One thing she said that I found I thought, darn, is I guess they want to do something kind of like this years back. And a lot of the wineries said, no, we're not interested. And now I'm going, okay, a lot of the wineries want to do it. Now she's saying or her and Jerry are not interested. So I guess it's all a matter of how you broach things or timing, but okay. Yeah.
As a follow-up question, did those cities have a true-up mechanism?
I had only talked to the one,
Okay, so
city.
it's limited.
I couldn't find out, any, as far as anybody else that was participating in this.
Okay.
That was relevant to our,
John's coming.
relevant to our county.
Yeah, I think John's coming to answer that question okay, thank you. Because that's what you need to do, is be able to true up, because you're guessing.
I talked to the one but yeah, she couldn't.
Very limited scope.
Yeah, she couldn't find anybody else that was similar to our situation, to be able.
We find that happens to us a lot.
When we did meet with, staff and even council, again, it's our intent, and then there's ways to do it. In advance of this, we can certainly, identify a contract. If the county can identify additional, cost risks that we can cover, it'd be better to cover it at the outset and have it contracted, so we have something durable to rely on.
I'd be more comfortable, yeah.
But there's other ways to do it, besides saying, you need to collect it. I will say, these districts are not all, as was mentioned, some are based on business licenses, some are based on property tax, the property-based, improvement districts. Some are based on, in this case, a subset of a sales tax. So it is an assessment, it's not a tax, but it is you derive it from a subset of sales tax in this case. But anyway, our intent is to work with the county and work with staff and make sure the county's not out of pocket, and I think there's ways to do that so it's reliable.
Curiosity question here is, how opposed are you to run through HDL?
We're not opposed at all. We actually reached out to HDL to secure what they would charge for this. And again, I think obviously, if it gets traction and it looks like it's something that's gonna happen, we would want to confirm that before.
Right.
Well, the biggest thing as I see for the county is if we were to do it, you know, of course, we would possibly have to hire somebody else as a part-time. And then if we have a 5-year sunset and you say, oh, this is not working for us, we have to fire that person because we don't have the capability to absorb that person into our accounting. And so that's kind of a part of the tricky part of all this that I want to make sure.
I think it would be preferable to contract, whether it's HDL or there's another way. I think that would be preferable.
Yeah, okay. I think so too. Thank you.
You know, one more question, John. The wineries that are not wanting to participate, have they already told you why?
Yeah, not all of them, but some have said, look, I want to make sure that, if I'm getting assessed and I'm passing it through to my customers, that, I have a say that's proportionate in governance to my contribution to this whole thing. Others have said, we don't like it. I also spoke with the Wrights, and they had made a run at doing this many years ago, and I think because others weren't willing to join at that time, I think there's some,
Can't blame them to a certain degree, I mean, really.
So, I mean, people have their own reasons. The only thing I would say is we do have long-tenured wineries, large and small, that may not support it, but we have many long-tenured wineries, large and small, that do support it. And so it's trying to balance the interest. And one of the reasons we've tried to be deliberative is, and taken 2 years to do this, is we didn't want somebody to say, oh, where did this come from, and how did this get traction? We've really made the effort, but we have, as I mentioned at the outset, we have identified broad support of those who have responded. We have identified some strong resistance of those who have responded, but we have still a number of wineries, and I don't know about you, I have a winery and we have 98 O2 licensed wineries. I can't get to 98 when I think about where are they, but there are 98 licensed wineries in the county. But I think
your problem too is it's not just there's 98 in the county, there's 98 in that county, and this county, and 500 in that one. It's, your competition is pretty fierce.
But if you look at Temecula and you look at Livermore, notwithstanding the comments about issues with collection in Livermore, they've been very happy with what it's done to try to differentiate themselves and differentiate their wineries and create a catalyst for economic activity in their regions. And again, as I said, there's several of these in Sacramento that are PBIDs, that are the property-based improvement districts. And those business owners like Midtown Sacramento and other places, they took it upon themselves because local governments didn't have money to do graffiti removal and security lighting and a lot of things that had to be done to maintain their customer and visitors. And they've been very happy with it. In fact, I think the downtown partnership is in the midst of looking at re-upping for 10 years in their subsequent one, so.
Okay. Well, any other members of the public? Casey?
I just want to thank you for listening to all the information and considering it. And I can't remember if it's potentially part of the contract, but maybe it might be a good idea to think about negotiating that there may be an independent audit of their financial information at some point within that 5 years to potentially help add credibility to the figures that that the county is going to be looking at and the public. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, no more public comment. This time, what's the board's pleasure?
Supervisor Axe, you wanted to?
Sure. I'll make a motion then to approve the resolution declaring the intention to create a wine heritage district, and the second resolution requesting that the cities of Plymouth, Amador City, and Sutter Creek all participate in the creation of this district. And I think that covers it.
You did, I'll second that.
All right.
We have a motion by Axe and a second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous, 401.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Break time.
Yeah, I think it's break time. We'll come back at about, let's say, roughly quarter till. Call this meeting back to order. And next up is, we have 5D. This is presentation by Chuck Collier, CAO, to the board regarding the current status of 2023-2024 budget. Right. Okay. Thank you. I got delayed out there, wasn't quite.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, thank you, Supervisor Crew. Item 6, public hearing at, well, 10:30, we'll pass that, but first item 6A, the surveying department, public hearing and adoption of the resolution of approval for a public utility easement, abandonment, and a certificate of merger for Gary L. and Diane M. Henriquez. Mr. Pitto? Good morning.
Good to see you, kind sir.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Believe me, let me get over here where I can get into a microphone. Thank you. Yes, this is, and it is nice to be back, believe me. Gary and Diane, did a, merger with an adjoining parcel. They're smaller parcels. They didn't have a lot of room to construct what they wanted to construct. And they own the parcel next door, which they want to merge now into the other parcel so they can build the shop. And I know I've had no letters or comments. I've had positive comments from the Amador Water Agency. They've reviewed the concept. They have no issue, and there's no other known issues. So I suggest that we adopt the resolution. And this abandons, I handle the BLA. This abandons the utility easement that goes across the line we want to remove. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Any members of the public like to comment?
To close the public hearing?
Second.
I have a motion by Brown and a second by Axe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries 401. Now we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion then to, approve the, resolution for the merger.
Okay, and also a public utility easement amendment.
And the utility easement abandonment.
Okay.
Yes.
Second.
A motion by Axe, a second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Nice seeing you.
Like always, good seeing you too.
Not gonna be here for the other ones?
Nope, it's planning.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You're off the hook.
Thank you, Roger. Roger that. Moving down to item 6B. This is consideration of the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve a variance. This is Johnson from the 25-foot front yard setback requirements and public utility easement setbacks requirement on final subdivision map number 116 to allow construction of a carport 10 feet in the front property line and 3 feet in the public utility easement.
Morning, Nicole Shepherd with the Planning Department.
Right.
This project was previously reviewed by the Technical Advisory Committee on January 4th, 2024. TAC forwarded the project to the Amador County Planning Commission with no technical objections. The Planning Commission then reviewed the project during its regular meeting on February 13th of 2024 and recommended approval of the project along with the CEQA exemption under Section 15305, Class 5 of the State CEQA Guidelines.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay.
This time we'll open the public hearing. Any members of the
Move to
public
close
like to comment?
public hearing.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing by Axe.
Second?
Second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous.
Make a motion to approve the, resolution approving the variance, from the 25-foot front yard setback and public utility easement setback requirements.
Again.
Okay, and also we're approving the adequacy of the proposed notice of exemption under CEQA. that part of your motion?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Carries unanimous.
I guess in the findings too, so,
Yeah, findings too, okay. We'll make that part of the motion.
all right.
All right, well, thank you. Item 6C, Planning Department.
Hello, Ruslan Bratton with the Planning Department. So this is a consideration of the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve a request for a zone change from the manufacturing zoning district to the residential estates zoning district for an approximate 24.67 combined acres of two non-contiguous parcels to establish consistency with the AG general plan designation. The current zoning, like I said, is manufacturing, which is incompatible with the current general plan land use designation. And the proposed zone change would rectify that. So permitted uses in the residential zoning, or residential estates zoning district are single-family dwellings and accessory buildings and accessory uses. Other compatible zoning districts in the AG general plan land use designation are AG Ag General, which is synonymous with the Williamson Act, A Agricultural, RE Residential Estates, R1A Single-Family Residential and Agricultural, and MR Mineral Resources. Additionally, currently, approximately half of the smaller property that's proposed to be rezoned is already zoned R1A, Single-Family Residential and Agricultural, but the rezone is to fully rezone that to residential estates. So following the public hearing, the first action for the board should be a decision on the environmental document, a mitigated negative declaration, and then the board can either approve or deny the project. And if you choose to approve it, the findings in the staff report are recommended for inclusion.
Do we know why it was originally set up for manufacturing?
I think history on back in the day, a lot of that area, a lot of the parcels to the north, west, and south are also zoned manufacturing, and one day they will be rezoned to match the general plan.
I mean, I know to the south, there is an old mine, rock quarry, I should say, sitting in that area, and I would be under the manufacturing area, but I didn't think there was any mines or anything else up toward the north area of Volcano.
Historically, I would imagine, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for
Couple of questions. What can can this property be subdivided into lots?
No, the density is established by the general plan, which in this case, for that area is Ag General, which is 40-acre minimums. So
okay,
you'd need at least 80 acres to split.
All right, so it is what it is, and this is something on paper, really?
It's to fix the consistency with the zoning and the general plan.
But it's not gonna change anything?
Well, it'll allow them to build residential uses.
But how many residential dwellings can you put on that property then?
So with the two properties, we'd look at a net increase of one additional dwelling because currently one of the properties is already split zoned R1A, so.
So that'd be an ADU type of?
No, so the bigger property of the two, it's full manufacturing, can't build a house there yet.
Okay.
All right, so that's fine.
At this time, we're going to open up the public hearing. And I think, Heather, you have a comment on Zoom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have Mr. Baracco. Please unmute on your end when ready.
Good morning, Board. Greg Baracco from the Widow Conservancy. Just wanted to put in a brief word of support for this application. It's a bit of anachronistic zoning. I think it was aspirational in sometime in the 1960s or 70s that this might be a future mine site. But what we're left with is the manufacturing zoning, which creates a loophole for a variety of heavy industrial uses in the volcano countryside. That's where it's not really appropriate. The general plan already made the correction by designating the area for agriculture, and this merely implements that land use change. And we further call on the county to complete a comprehensive zoning map update so that all the properties, both in Volcano and throughout the county where these zoning inconsistencies exist, can be corrected and they don't have to be addressed as individual applications. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
What's the public hearing?
Second.
Were you wanting to speak, Mr. Ketron, or? Okay. We have a motion, to close the public hearing.
Yep.
All in favor? Well, motion by Crew, and who was the second? Second was by Axe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, carries unanimous.
I'll make a motion to approve the mitigated negative.
Can you hold off that a second there, Frank?
Yeah.
I had a question for Greg. Maybe.
Okay.
There's some letters that were questioning the adequacy of, the mitigating negative deck in this situation. Is like, they're talking about like water lines, weren't looked at. Is that something that would have to be in, negative deck as far as looked at, as far as, sequence?
Well, I've talked with, Deputy County Counsel Glenn Spitzer, who's worked on this project, who sat with the Planning Commission, as well, and, his opinion is that the mitigated negative declaration is adequate.
Is sufficient then?
Yes.
And we received a late letter, and I imagine staff probably looked at that and saw that letter too.
Yeah, from the Celery, Missouri, I think they were just referencing their previous comments, right?
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to note that for the record, so. With that point, I think, I got no more questions. Frank, you're good to go.
Okay. I'd make a motion to approve the mitigated negative declaration, approve the requested zone change, approve the ordinance to change the zoning of the affected parcels from M manufacturing districts to RE residential estate zoning district, and accept the findings, the recommended findings.
Yeah, and also that the mitigating negative deck was adequate.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I just said prove that, yeah.
Can we do that all in one motion?
We do that in all one motion, Greg? Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Axe and a second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries 401. Thank you, Ruslan. Moving on down. Let's see, going back to it would be,
Budget.
that's what I'm looking for, 5D. Lost tracker would be budget update by Mr. Riley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is that time of year again, and time when we take a look at our budget after we're halfway through the current fiscal year. Time to start the budget process for next fiscal year, and start that whole process of having everybody give us their wish lists for what they want to see in the budget. Just a quick reminder what we approved last year. Last year we had a $50.18 million general fund, between the 48.18 in revenues and $2 million carryover. Total budget $50.18 million. There are, as I talk about this, there are going to be a few things that are going to throw things out of whack a little bit in the future, namely the jail project, because it's going to bring funds into and out of the general fund that will give it a little bit of, I guess, false inflation that it looks like it's larger than it is. You'll see what I'm talking about. Here's a history of the general fund. You can see from 13-14 to 23-24, we've grown from 33 million to 48 million. At this point in time, this year in 23-24, we've received 46.93% of our anticipated revenues, which is about in line with what we typically get. We're about right in the middle. The expenditures, same thing, 50.18 million in expenditures. We're a little bit higher at 48.61% than we are in revenues, in terms of the fact that we're 50% time-wise through the year. So what's happening with revenues? Our local sales tax, the Bradley Burns tax, is it's slowing down. It's not regressing, but it is not rising as fast as we thought it would. If you recall, we've talked about this every year, that the sales tax keeps going up, and it's still going up this year, but it's just going up at a lower rate. So we're probably going to be about $70,000 short of what we had anticipated there, which would come out of the carryover.
But wasn't the sales tax kind of rising because inflation kind of, took everything up to be, and now we've kind of plateaued or we stabilized?
Plateaued, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And along with the fact that there's a lot more being sold locally via mail.
Right, but we're collecting that, aren't we?
We are collecting.
We do get that money, yeah, okay.
We do, versus people actually driving out of the area to go buy stuff at a brick and mortar. So Prop 172, the half-cent sales tax is actually coming in a little bit higher. So if you recall, the difference between the Prop 172 tax and the Bradley Burns tax. The Bradley Burns tax is actually what is spent locally. The Prop 172 tax is collected statewide, and then they give us a chunk based on percentage. So TOT tax is actually going up significantly higher than where we thought it was going to be. The Jackson Rancheria, we've received the funds from them that they had promised us, and we are anticipating the same amount for next year. That is a voluntary contribution, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. The Harrah's Northern California contribution, the ISA calls for $1.4 million. They are paying us $0. So that we have put that agreement on hold for the time being, but I don't know how long it will be until their non-payment affects others and their choice to voluntarily pay. Transfer taxes are down, so 20% below where we had budgeted. This is the slice that the recorder takes when they record a deed or a transfer. Obviously, with interest rates being high, the real estate market would slow down, and that's what we're seeing. It's taking a bite from the recorder's budget. Here's what we've seen from property taxes year over year. It has been it has risen fast. We are projecting, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but we are projecting it to slow back down to 2%. Last year we were over 4%. This year we're back to projecting 2%. There's the sales tax. You can see it's slowing down a bit. There's the trend by quarter. There's typical quarters that always dip, not unusual, but that's where we are.
Why do we have the Q2 drop?
I don't know, that's a good question. Why does it always drop in Q2? Except for 2021. So what's happened with expenditures? So we figure we're gonna save about $651,000 in unfilled vacancies and unpaid leaves. We did prepay our PERS which saved us $219,000, by prepaying that at the beginning of the year rather than during the course of the year. And, we still have the, remaining contingency, which we typically don't hit too hard, 1.29 million, in the contingency right now. Started at 1.5. So right now we've slated our fund balance carryover at 1.5 million. We are projecting that property tax increase to be at 2, which is an increase of $433,000 to the general fund. We are restricted to, well, I should go back and re-explain if you own a property, the max that your assessed value can go up any year is 2% unless you get reassessed for some reason, like you add a bedroom or a pool or something like that. Otherwise, it's capped at 2%. So even though property values are not going to be going up as significantly, there's still a catch up between what we're assessing and what the actual value is. So that still goes up. We will see 2%, a pretty good conservative amount to be estimating. And property tax in lieu of VLF is also at 2%. And we talked about the Bradley Burns sales tax. So we are projecting a flat amount. So this year we're going to project we got the same amount as last year. And we are not including any excess tax loss reserves. I'm not sure where that fund is right now. Stacy, do you know? Yep. Right now, we're leaving that in. That'll be in our back pocket if we need it.
You know, Chuck, why did document transfer tax drop? Has it been less sales or?
Much fewer sales, many fewer, yeah. So the real estate market as a whole is just kind of frozen.
Yeah, it's just 20% substantial.
It is significant drop. So the other expenditures for expenditure assumptions for 24-25, we are estimating wages to go up by $624,000 due to increases that we've got, increases that we anticipate other costs. The PERS unfunded liability costs are estimated to increase by $747,000. That is county as a whole. That is not just the general fund, but it will also hit the realignment funds as well. I am focusing right here on the general fund. The health insurance costs are anticipated to go up at 10%. So, and we've set the contingency at 1.4 million, which is 2.8%. We strive to be at 3%, so the contingency is a little low. But I do believe that we're okay. We've actually never used half of that contingency, so.
That's our total contingency for the fiscal year?
That's it. Yes, we could tap into reserves if needed.
Okay.
If it were an emergency.
Right.
So.
Okay.
That is.
I just thought I wasn't sure whether it was specific for one aspect of the budget or for any budget issue.
It's for any budget issue.
Okay.
And that's what we touch, and typically we don't use half of it, and it rolls forward to the next year.
Okay.
The A87 cost to the general fund is going to go down by $114,000 per our consultant. We're looking at all other operating expenditures, status quo from 23-24. Our risk pool, liability, property, and workers' comp went up by $865. Actually, that was until last week. That number's been revised to $914. So that's another $50,000 that's going up. But that's not reflecting in the.
What's that yearly number?
Which one?
What's the yearly cost of that roughly?
The total. I'll show you that in just a second.
Okay.
We've got there it is right there. So, 24-25 estimate, that's before we just got notification that the estimate has gone up by 50,000, was at $3.1 million. That's countywide, that's not just general fund, but that is countywide.
Oh, you said 3.1 million?
3.1 million for liability and workers' comp.
Why is that? Is that because of claims, or is that because of inflation, or is that because of?
It's all of it. Now, we are part of a statewide pool, so
Okay.
our claims in particular don't necessarily, reflect.
What's going on with us?
Yeah, it gets mitigated by the fact that we're, so.
Have you ever looked where our liability, costs are per year, what they're paying out versus what we're paying?
I mean, we can get that information, but we don't have it offhand. You can see the liability line is the blue line, and that's the one that's been going up.
2 million.
Yeah.
I mean, my question is, I mean, what are our limits for insurance? I mean, how much are the insurance for?
I don't know, we can, if you'd like, we can put a presentation together and bring it back.
I'd like that.
Talk about that.
Are people suing more? Yes? Yeah, okay. Is that, but not here in Amador per se, it's statewide? Our pool, okay. Because it was, one time the liability was lower than the workers' comp.
Right.
I mean, I'm just wondering.
500,000.
I was just kind of curious, and we talked about that once before, what it'd take to self-insure, if that'd be a worthwhile risk or not.
For liability, that would be a different animal than we'd talk about self-insuring or changing providers for health insurance for the employees. But
no, I also want to know about.
For liability?
Yes.
Well, we can talk about that. We'll have, our risk manager, put something together, and we can talk about it at the next board meeting. Just
yeah, that'd be good.
Justification, if nothing else.
You could essentially raise we have a relatively low deductible or self-insurance level. You could raise that on the civil liability side. I don't know what that effect would have on the premium, though.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that. And I'd be kind of curious to see what our limits of coverage are, for what we're paying.
Well, we can get all that and present that to you.
Okay, thank you, Chuck.
Sure. So the other elephant in the room is, CalPERS costs. As you can see, the percentages, vary. So, up where we've got, the miscellaneous plan is all the miscellaneous employees, the, SEIU employees, management, mid-management, and confidential are all out of that. The county, peace officer, that's gonna be the tier 1, it's gonna be the 3 at 50 tier. So that's gonna be the sheriff's office, and, their employees. We did start the tier 2 before PEPRA came in with the tier 3. There aren't that many folks on tier 2 in either one of those. Then SLP is the safety local prosecutor, which is, for the DA's office. And you can see the percentages that they take, off. And these are just the normal costs. These are not the unfunded liability portion. This is just the normal costs. And the normal cost for, the miscellaneous plan actually went down by 0.4%, versus the CPO, where law enforcement both of those went up. So the unfunded liability is the other big one, and that's the one that rose so much. You can see cumulatively how much each fund has to pay, and there's that $746,971 that we have to that is increasing. Now that's across all funds again, but
Chuck, that's from the loss 3 years ago in CalPERS.
exactly the one where they actually had a negative return. You can see where if you look back year over year, actually 23-24 dropped. The amount we had to pay actually went down from 22-23. So it went down by $238, and this year it's going back up by $746. and they're projecting that next year will go up by another $124,000. So, but one of the reasons last year was, we had so much room in the budget was because of this, rather than going up, which is what we had been experiencing for so long, it actually went down.
Yeah, that's almost like $1 million differential, so.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, but it's been going up, I mean, those are big numbers in the 7s, 8s.
They are, and people ask that question because there's been so much increase in property value. Where has the money gone? And this is where the vast majority of the money has gone.
Well, maybe my memory might be faulty, but I remember it wasn't that long ago, I think you had, the CalPERS board and the legislature and the governors pushing going green, and they got out of all kinds of, investments, oil and other ones. They divested themselves because they're saving the world. And I think there's also some chicanery going on in the CalPERS system at the highest levels. And the problem is, we're paying for it. And actually, I think there's some absolute malfeasance and illegal stuff being done there by some of the CalPERS, higher echelon that came out in the wash, where people were, buying their buddies' projects and spending all kinds of, a lot more money than it's worth, and people should have went to jail. But
No accountability.
no.
The other board lost 20%, they'd be looking for a job.
So continuing on I shortened our SWOT analysis down just to the threats. These are the things that we see that are gonna potentially bite us over the course of this year or next few fiscal years. There are currently 5 capital cases pending, and unless somebody has the resources to defend themselves personally, the public defender, which is funded by the general fund, covers the cost. Our agreement with the public defender has a limit to how much, since we have a lump sum agreement with the public defender, there's only so many capital cases they have to work on at a time before us being responsible for it. And our estimate right now is it's gonna cost us about $500,000. Whether that's gonna hit this fiscal year, next fiscal year, or the fiscal years after that is still unknown. So we have not included that yet.
Where's Judge Roy Bean when you need him?
That is out there. So we also have a person awaiting trial in custody that has had to go to a hospital in the Bay Area and is receiving care at about $400,000 per year. So that is coming out of our jail medical fund, which is part of.
What's he awaiting trial for?
So he's charged with, sexual molestation of a minor. There's a lot of issues going on in that case. We are trying to work on it, but there is that cost.
So there is that cost, and right now we're taking it out of jail medical, which comes out of health realignment.
Yeah, that's because the prisoner's health is in bad shape.
Yes.
So he went to a hospital. He's covered by a program that's essentially Medi-Cal for inmates. That hospital care was covered, but then he was released from the hospital. He's in a skilled nursing facility because his needs are essentially too much to come back to the jail. So he has to be placed at the skilled nursing facility, which is not covered by this jail Medi-Cal program. So that's the county cost. It's $30,000+.
Yeah, $30,000 a month. 30 to 35, and we're not even sure that's all the bills we're going to be getting. So, yeah.
Just
And that all goes on the jail?
Pardon?
It's a cost to the
Health
jail.
realignment
So
in the jail?
It goes to the jail, and jail medical, the costs associated with jail medical come out of health realignment. So it's not hitting the general fund yet, but if that fund goes dry, then jail medical or the general fund will have to make up the difference.
Let's hope we don't have 4 or 5 of those cases in a year.
That is the concern. So, but that's why it's here. It's a potential for a problem. Third, the casino issues. So we are, as was commented on earlier, Island Band is working to open, and we are doing what we can to protect the county as best we can. But we don't know what that mitigation is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be adequate. The county doesn't have a lot of I guess, leverage in those negotiations. Harris continues to have an impact with zero mitigation, and we don't know when their case is going to be resolved within the next couple of years. The Jackson Rancheria is the shining star there, and they are paying everything we ask them for, and to our great appreciation. But I'm just concerned that they're gonna get tired of being the only folks who are playing nice on the block. And but I don't know of another county our size that has 3 casinos, let alone 3 that have 2 that are not paying much in terms of mitigation. So, and then the last thread, as I see it, is the jail expansion project. I think we have enough in there right now to keep the project funded. You can see where we've contributed from, and we have a sizable contingency on it. We have a contingency on that contingency. I think we are in good shape, as long as John doesn't bring us to the brink and something goes wrong. I don't anticipate that, but it is a possibility, so we're talking about it here.
Can we threaten to take his retirement away?
Yes. He volunteered to put that up as a guarantee. So that's there. I don't really anticipate that jail will be a problem, but it could be. It is out there. So putting all the positives and negatives together.
You know, one thing I'd like to back up that for a second, if we could. One thing I'd like to talk about is when we did this jail expansion project, it was kind of done under duress. Like we're looking at maybe a possible lawsuit coming, and the county has to build the jail, or expand the jail on its own dime. And we got a grant, I think, for about $17 million, which would have been a fully funded project, or at least real close to it. And the county was sued under CEQA. I think it's kind of a pretty nefarious lawsuit, but under the way CEQA is set up, you can sue just about anything, and the county won. And then they appealed it once or twice. I can't remember if it was once or twice.
Twice.
Okay.
Well, they appealed it to the appeals court, and then they appealed it to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. So, and those their actions taken by this one couple now has our jail. What is that? A little over $12 million in the red, which was basically no fault of the counties. But I just wanted to put that on the record. So that's why you have that. Why you have that obligation that's went up.
Right, and I should say that everybody is participating in that in terms of covering those costs. The CCP is in there for $7 million. We're taking $3 million from capital facilities, which is local development. The $1.5 million from rural crimes, which is the sheriff's, and the 2.1 in jail reserve, and it's general fund. So yeah, it's all across the board. We've put all of this together to close that gap.
Well, just that lawsuit they filed under CEQA, I mean, basically hurt the county
right.
$12 million, basically.
It would have been far less than that amount right there. So putting all the positives and negatives together right now, when we put this together, it was $57,000. Since we put this together, the liability and workers' comp insurance has gone up by 50. So that's about 107 right now, rather than 57, which is not great, but it's still manageable without needing to have cuts. I don't anticipate we will need to cut any positions at all.
Does this include adding those 2 positions for Public Works?
No, it does not.
Okay.
So if you would like to give me direction to add those, I would. We'll do that.
What point would you like the board to give you that direction?
Let me finish this page,
Okay.
and then you can do that. Right now, our base budget calculated by updating all our known changes to revenues and expenditures before budgets are given to the departments. The departments got their budgets yesterday, and with directions for a status quo budget. So the general fund will cover the increased costs to employees. And we say if you have additional costs, for the most part, you need to augment that with additional revenue. So to bring you in at a status quo budget. So the impact of the general fund will go up a little bit, and that's where our additional sales tax and our additional property taxes will go to cover those. And then everything else will be, we expect the departments to be self-sufficient. Stating that further, the employees and the position step and longevity increases are all covered already. The departments don't have to cut or find ways to cover those. And we do have the negotiated wage increases in there. Sorry, I need one more page. The budget calendar, this is what we are proposing right now, which is budgets went out to departments yesterday. Kim's going to do her budget orientation with the employees who are in positions that need to understand this, where we train them on revenues and expenditures and what means what. April 1st, the budget submittals come back, and April 8th through the 12th, we'll all be sitting down and making sure we understand who's asking for what and why. So the first question for the board comes April 30th. We've got a proposed budget workshop. Does that work? That's a Tuesday, I believe.
I am not available.
There's always one.
There's always one.
Crowd. Are you out for that, for an extended period
2
of time?
weeks,
Just
yeah.
that date?
That's the set date for my trip.
When will you be back?
I will be back on 9th of May.
What about the 29th? When are you leaving on your trip?
I leave on the 25th. I'm from the 25th through the 9th.
What about
24th?
sometime like the 22nd through the 24th?
The issue becomes,
Board meeting's on the 23rd.
Would 24th work?
issue comes to us having it all put together and having it to you in time you can digest it. So if I don't finish, we could do, I think.
What time are you getting back, Jeff?
The 9th?
9th?
I'll be back in the office on the 9th.
Okay.
The 25th and the 26th?
Yeah, I'll be gone the 25th and 26th.
Oh, so the 24th, okay.
I could do the 24th.
Could we do the 24th?
I could do,
That's an all day.
I have a 10 o'clock, EMCC meeting, but other than that, that's it.
You would not be able to make that meeting. That's our all day.
Oh, okay. Well, it's here anyway.
Just call in sick.
Yeah, well, it won't be in this room. The,
24th?
24th?
Yeah.
So we're talking April 24th?
Yeah.
What time? 8?
We can start it at 9.
9?
Yeah, what's this 8 o'clock stuff?
Starting at 7:30.
And hopefully Supervisor Forster will be.
I'm compromising.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so then, following that, we would bring, back the budgets, to the board for approval on June 11th. The, statutory requirement is by June 30th. So if June 11th, there was some hang up with it, we could approve it at the June 25th meeting too. One of those work. And then September 10th would be, final budget, which has to be, approved by the end of September. So we'd be there, that is all, I've got to show you for now. So, I will, I know, Lois had, questions on that, and I will say, I think the difference between our county and a lot of the other counties is reliance on state funding, state and federal funding, because the state is in trouble this year, and they are clawing back everything they can. There was concern, that, the Upper Ridge Road funding was, gonna be clawed back. And I've checked with Dana Jorgensen, and he said, hold off, don't do it, because we were gonna select a consultant to do that design. And he double checked, and it, there were some folks who were nosing around, but it's fended off, and the money is still there.
Because I thought we got a big check.
We have a big check, but that has no account numbers on it. I would say.
Write you another one, Frank, if you want us.
There should be a law, when you get to the big check stage, it's beyond the point of no return.
So we got the big check, the cash has not been received because it's going through Caltrans. So.
Oh, no.
That's.
Oh, boy.
They are not doing this project, and they're not making us do, that was my big concern. They are just funneling it through their coffers for some reason. I don't know why. But it's not in our hands yet, and that is a concern. But overall, our dependence on state grants and other funding is minimal. We rely, for the most part, on property taxes and sales taxes. There are some grants here and there, but we don't rely on them for recurring expenses. Rather, we use them for one and done. And as such, we have found that we are not in a position where we need to make cuts just because the state is backing off of funding. So it leaves us in a better spot.
You know, one thing I will say, I mean, I thought of coming for quite a while, and it seemed like they've kept this tired horse running, but it's starting to look like things are slowing down.
They are. Things are slowing down.
And I know, just talking to people, you know, I mean, I'm hearing people, there's a number of people they're really feeling a lot of pain just buying food. And now you got energy costs are skyrocketing, insurance costs are going up. I mean, it's not looking very pretty. I think probably, you know, I think we need to add a couple positions to Public Works. I mean, I really don't want to, but I think we have to. We got a lot of road problems, and we don't have enough people in that road crew. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. I don't know how the board feels about adding a couple positions to Public Works, but now's probably a good time to talk about it, Chuck.
So are we talking road crew positions?
Yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be like entry level?
Probably. I mean, yeah, I think so, yeah.
I would.
Public Works 1,
I
2.
recognize the need, but I don't see where we're gonna come up with the funding at this time. I kind of wait till after we see the budget. The workshop would give us a much better idea.
Yeah, we can look at it with and without during the workshop.
Yeah, now to what it would cost, if you could get that for us, so we can plug and play if we find that we can do it, but I don't think we're ready to commit to that as much as we do need it.
I'd like to look at adding them in. I mean,
We can
yeah.
it'll probably be total cost, somewhere around 90 to 100,000 per position.
Yeah, 200,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I'd be looking at maybe a couple. I think there's a couple of departments might be a little bit heavy on some staffing. I think that's been a problem for quite a while. I think I'd like to look at that. I'm talking specifically, I'm not talking deputy sheriffs, I'm talking sheriff's office. When they have some of their higher positions go vacant, I mean, I'd like to see them look at not filling them.
Please do a time study and show us why you need them, instead of just we do.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure they'd find a need. But I have my doubt that the need is there. And then maybe a I'd seen some numbers on like our DA's, department, what their cost is to our county versus some other counties, and it seems like it's rather high. And, maybe if you could look into that some more, Mr. Eiley, that'd be helpful.
I still would like to see his conviction rate. Asked a couple times and got nothing, so maybe if you ask for it as part of his budget, might be a little more inclined.
Yeah, the conviction rate, but you know, I'm just gonna digress for a minute if you'll give me a little room. I'd like to tell you a story.
Who's gonna?
Nothing against the current DA, but just sometimes when you talk about conviction rates. Many years ago, there was a curly-headed guy that's getting kind of bald now. Was coming out of the mountains, well, let me backtrack. So the county went and passed a ordinance, and my mom went and spoke the ordinance, says, really don't want it, don't need it. And the ordinance was to, anybody that was cutting firewood in Amador County had to have a permit to haul firewood in Amador County. And my mom said, we don't want it, don't need it. And they said, oh, it's gonna help you because people won't be able to steal wood or whatever. And I think it's really aimed towards a national forest where now it's all rotting anyway, so, I mean, it didn't do much good. And so they passed this ordinance, and lo and behold, I was fresh out of high school. The last thing I wanted was a pencil in my pickup. I was out of school. I was free. I went and cut a big load of, I don't remember if it was firewood or fence post at a piece of ground we had in the mountains. I was coming down out of the mountains, and I got pulled over by a sheriff's officer because I had such a big load, I had to go pretty slow. And he wanted my permit, and I told him, well, geez, you know, I didn't have a pencil, so I hadn't wrote one out, so I didn't have one. I said, give me a pen and a piece of paper, I'll write out my permit, because you can write out your own permit, which is kind of silly if you think about it. And he seemed pretty reasonable. He said, okay, he goes, and he went back to his car, and I thought he was gonna get a pen and a piece of paper, and I'd write out a permit, and be then legal. Came back, says, here, take it up with the judge. I thought, ooh, that was kind of ugly, but, oh, part of the problem was I couldn't find my wallet, and it was, I think it was in a coat pocket, and so maybe that was why he did it. But anyway, so they wrote me a ticket and went before the local, went to the DA, and my mom was kind of mad, and I was like 17 years old. And she went and said, why are you prosecuting this? It's, you know, it's off our property. He'd wrote out a permit. Well, you have to follow the law and have to prosecute him. So, I was a young kid, and I remember my mom blew a gasket, and she said, well, he's got no damn money. You can prosecute him, you can defend him, you can have all the damn fun with him you want. And they did. They prosecuted me and defended me, and they went and got me a public defender. And I was 17 years old, I think, roughly. So I went to a public defender's office, and he had this law book open, and he told me, well, Mr. Onetto, I've been studying this case, and it seems very serious, and yada, 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 but I have a plea deal with you with the DA. I said, hey, great. He says, I don't remember, I think it's 1 week's probation. I said, no, but I'm not guilty of anything really wrong. It didn't harm nothing, so I said, I'm not gonna plead guilty. He said, well, I'll go talk to him. So he went and talked to the DA, and this is going back like 40-some years ago, not the current administration. And he came back, hey, I got a deal for you. It was 1 hour, or I think the rest of the day's probation. But I'd be guilty, and it's on my record. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do it. So I went before the judge, and it was Don Howard, and ended up that, well, just needless to say, anyway, it got worked out. I was found not guilty. I don't want to go into details that might cause issues. But when it's interesting was they won the conviction on me for really something, really harmed nobody, done nothing really bad. Yeah, as a foul of a regulation that was kind of bunk. But they won their conviction. They won their conviction rate, Pat. When I look at the conviction rate, sometimes it might almost be a bad thing because we're going to convict you right or wrong. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, my point to that being, though, is I hear out in the public, and I'm sure you all have, that we're ridiculed quite because we have a very low conviction rate. And I'd like to have the proof to tell people that's bunk.
Mm-hmm.
That's
okay.
mine.
And you've asked and never got it.
Right.
Okay. I know it's long-winded, but I thought it's interesting.
Very. Are we ready to move on?
And yeah, if the board's happy with that direction, then we will continue on as
I think we're all happy.
Yeah,
And the date set for the workshop, so that was the big thing,
24th, April 24th, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I'd like to see the road crew members, but I understand where other board members are coming from. That's prudent. Let's see, we'd kind of like to do that, but let's see what the effects are.
Right, we got time.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, there's a need, but we're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
So Heather, you will, reschedule the EMCC?
Be happy to.
Okay.
Okay. Is that done your presentation, Mr. Riley? It was a good presentation, so thank you.
short and sweet.
No Zoomers? Any member of the public like to comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. This is item 5E, General Service Administration, acceptance of a donation to Amador County Animal Control by the Gary E. Noyce Trust.
Chairman, don't we have to approve the budget calendar, or can we just by consent?
Direction's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no statutory requirement that you approve that other than
Okay,
post it.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, can you give me just a half a second here?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to compliment Evan on coming to my District 3 Community Council last night. He did an excellent job and answered everybody's questions and didn't get pitchforks from anybody. It was a really great evening.
Thank you for that, and sometimes we do worry about the pitchforks when I do presentations like that, so thank you, sir. So I'm Evan Jacobs, Director of Animal Control. I hope I come to you with a better figures than, previous. So, in accordance with the county gift policy 2-270, any gift greater than $10,000 requires acknowledgement in writing from the department and referral to the board for acceptance or rejection. There is also a draft letter that we do seek approval for. I'll read the background history. Gary E. Noyce lived in the 12,000 block of Jackson Pine Drive in Jackson. He passed away on March 4th, 2023, and named Amador County Animal Control as one of 5 benefactors of his trust. Mr. Noyce served in the Navy for approximately 10 years, where he was a navigator/bomber in the Vietnam War and retired as a lieutenant commander. He went on to work for the Alameda County Sheriff's Department as a deputy until the late 1990s. When he retired, he was passionate about rescuing animals and finding suitable homes for them. He had a special appreciation for what animal control does and our mission, and showed his appreciation by leaving a portion of his estate in the amount of $400,000. In June of this year, there will also be another small portion. They think in the low 6 figures, but we won't know that until sometime in June, and then we'll be coming back to you with that donation as well. So kind of what we are looking for if seeking approval is what we would like as a barn. I call it shanty town. We use dog pens right now for our small livestock, and they can easily get out. So we would like to use a large portion of that for a barn. For the one-offs, we still use the fairgrounds for larger things, but it'll be nice to house them all here in one location. We'd also look at trying to expand at least 1 or 2 dog play yards for enrichment and just getting animals out of the shelter. We'd also like to look at new cat cages that are more in line with housing of, I call the 2024 versus what we have now. And then also, if possible, we'd like to look at getting an electric gate with pedestrian access to our facility for ease of stuff.
I'd just like to add real quick, Gary was my next door neighbor.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, he's a good guy.
So, yeah.
Really? His next door
He
neighbor?
was my next door neighbor, yeah.
Yeah, we looked Gary up in the system because no one in my department knew exactly who Gary was. And the only thing we found him was he licensed his animals regularly, never had a complaint on his animals or never filed a complaint. He just licensed his animals religiously. So none of my staff was aware of ever knowing him personally. He might have come into the shelter to license, but you can also do it by mail. So we were very shocked and happily gracious to receive such a bequest.
His wife was, who had passed away before he did, was a big animal lover. I don't know if I've told some of the board members about my interactions with her and, the deer in the area, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, actually, I mean, hey, he had a mountain named after
Yes.
him.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes. So he was, from what I could, surmise in talking with, also the gentleman, in charge of, Mr. Farnsworth, that, yeah, he was on some sort of exploration. I'm not the expert in this. And he was one to find a mountain. And so, I guess they went through the process and they actually named it after him. So it's a very cool, experience as well.
Yeah, I will say too, I mean, it's really a very nice, bequest to the animal shelter and, you know, it's like animals, I mean, you look at people, it's like, there's a lot of nice people, some people aren't so nice, but most animals, unless they have a bad owner, almost all animals are really pretty nice generally. And even some of them being kind of mean, they're protecting their place and you say, hey, okay, that's your house, I'm not gonna bother you. They'll, okay, that's fine, but, and, nice thing about animals, they'll let you know where they're at. If they're mad and they may be gonna bite you, they'll let you know. I got a cat who moved in about 15 years ago, and I always swore I'd never buy that stupid soft cat food. Anybody did was just ridiculous. Anybody did it just had rocks or brains. And you know what I'm buying? I'm buying soft cat food. And he gets it when he wants. He kicks me out of bed to go feed him. So animals have a way of really, way of working their way into your heart. So I can understand his, the gift he gave the animal shelter, and it's gonna, I'm hoping we honor what he'd like to have done. I think we will.
That'd be nice, the Ledger got this information, maybe even did a separate story on him. You know, I think this is a good community story, him donating this to the county and the shelter.
I know there's been a big need up there for, you know, a barn for animals and stuff like that. This has really come in real helpful.
Oh, extremely helpful. It does take a lot of staff and time, if we can't house it there in what I call shanty town. You know, especially the large livestock, right? Cows, horses, we can't house there safely. So this will definitely benefit, you know, the department and the staff.
Cool.
Just a quick question. You'd like to add an electric gate with pedestrian access to the entrance to the facility? Is that like the main gates when you're like locked up, so people go through the main gates and open the whole big gates that you're talking about?
Yes. So, typically we don't open until 10, and so people like to sneak in, you know, and we understand why. But that throws the cleaning procedures in a funk where we're trying to get everything clean so we can be open by 10 without having too much burden. So if they do need to sneak in, they can do it via walking in, and our volunteers are walking, twice a day. And so that'll help them without having to disrupt that.
Okay, that seems reasonable. Is there any members of the public who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing none. Need a motion to probably accept the, request.
Would make that motion. We accept the bequest of Gary Neese Trust in the amount of $400,000 with the restrictions that are on it for the animal control.
And then
Are you okay with sending that,
Send the letter.
that letter that I,
Yes, yes.
Yeah, very, very well written letter.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Crew and a second by Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimous, 401. Thank you.
thank you.
Next item up is what we're looking for, minutes. Review and approval, possible approval of February 20th, 2024 Board of Supervisors minutes.
I think you need to change the chair and vice chair on the first page.
That's been a little bit of a problem at times, yeah.
You're still vice chair, Brian.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing I found.
Okay, so just a minor revision then?
Yes.
We have a motion by Axe and a second by Crew. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimous, 401. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you. We are adjourned.